Hi everyone, my name is Gerardo Lazaro and today I'm going to be talking about culture and daily life in New Spain. The most noticeable aspect of scholarship began right after the conquest. The studies were made by friars educated in Spain and in other European countries.
Cortés described the conquest with his famous letters to the king, so making studies or recording the conquest was not important at that time.
Important Indian studies were made by Motolini's Historia de los Indios. Also, Father Bernardino de Sahagún worked with native informants so he could record their story in both languages, Nahuatl and Spanish. For example, Chimalpaín, descended from Nahua royalty, was educated by Franciscans. Later on, he wrote detailed events about the pre-contact period, and he also described the annals of Mexico City's religious and cultural life in his own time. The most important 18th century work was the Historia Antigua de México by the Jesuit Francisco Javier de Clavijero, a Mexican native considered to be the founder of the modern Mexican historiography. Clergymen preserved Indian histories, customs and languages. They even created grammar and dictionaries for the Indians so they could read and write in their own language. Some friars were able to understand 2 to 3 languages, native languages. Some scholars excelled in the studies of flora, fauna, and medicines of Mexico. Most of the times, the researches were sponsored by the king. Carlos de Singüesa y Góngora, a famous criollo, was the important figure in scientific thought. He was poet, historian, mathematician, astronomer, and antiquarian. Antiquarian is the one that studies like old stuff, like books. And later in the colonial period, Mexico had another literary figure named José Joaquín Fernández de Lizardi. He wrote El Periquillo Sarmiento or the Mangy Parrot in 1816. It was considered the first true novel written in Spanish in Latin America. The first book printed in Mexico was a religious tract in Nahuatl and Spanish by Bishop Zumarraga. Mexico City was the only city with a printing press between 1537 and 1539. Other Mexican cities obtained their own printing press a century later. That was a long time after. Now let's talk about I think she was the most important figure in the colonial era for Mexico. Her name was Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. She was born in November 12, 1651, and she died in April 17 in 1695. She was the most important literary figure in the New Spain. When she was young, she amazed intellectuals with her unbelievable talent. She was one of the first feminists in Latin America. She tried to foment women's rights. She disliked the fact that women were categorized in a subordinate position. She even wrote a poem. This is one of her most important works, and it says something like this. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón, sin ver que sois la ocasión de lo mismo que culpáis. ¿Cuál mayor culpa ha tenido en una pasión errada, la que cae derrogada o el que ruega decaído? ¿O cuál es más de culpar, aunque cualquiera mal haga, la que peca por la paga o el que paga por pecar? Or in English, I don't know if I could read this, but I'm gonna try it. Stupid man, unreasonable in blaming women. Stupid man, unreasonable in blaming woman's nature, oblivious that your acts incite the very faults you censure. Which has the greater sin when burned by the same lawless fever? She who is I'm just gonna leave it like that.
In this picture, we could see Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz surrounded by books. She has an open book, and as you guys can see, she was very devoted to literature. In her time, women did not have access to education, so she wanted to do something about it. She entered the convent to get access to education, but she faced problems when her superiors forbidden her to study. But it was no problem for her because she was very ambitious to learn, that she even studied the reaction of food when it was being cooked.
When she was 18, she entered a convent. She did not want to get married. She ignored favorable prospects of marriage and privileged positions at a court. She spent her life doing intellectual exercises, writing poetry that was only surpassed by a few in the Spanish-speaking world during the Spanish literary gold age. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, she's still a very important figure in the literary world. She's very important for the Mexican history. She's very important that Mexico printed her portrait in a 200 pesos bill, which I'm gonna show you right here. I have this, and I like it. It has like the symbols of the literature, like books and the feather with the ones they used before to write. And that's it. Thank you guys for paying attention. I hope you guys liked the video.